Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Panos. I'm the CEO of Spin Analytics. We would like to thank PitchBreakfast for the kind invitation to present our company, Spin Analytics, today here with you. Let me outline how financial technology plays a vital role in enabling banks and corporates to change and grow during crises like the current pandemic, and not only. Recent COVID crisis and the new macro changes have highlighted the inability of banks and corporates to redevelop their credit risk models fast. So, recent COVID crisis and new macroeconomic changes have highlighted the inability of banks and corporates to redevelop their credit risk models fast and the inaccuracy of the existing models, raising concerns from bank regulators. To stay competitive in this new business and economic environment requires new strategies and practices. Today, credit risk management has become a major priority for the global banking industry. Behind each loan or credit product, there is one or more credit risk models. The big challenge is how to develop fast, high-quality credit risk models. Banks use thousands of models, which are still developed manually due to the expert judgment required. The average time for an experienced team of modelers to develop a full model is between 6 to 9 months, and the average cost is at least $300,000 for every model. To address this huge opportunity, we set up Spin Analytics and would like to present you Risk Robot. Risk Robot is the solution that actually minimizes the time more than 90% and the cost more than 70% and works globally. Risk Robot actually has been tested with global tier 1 banks, and now we're entering the US market to industrialize credit risk modeling for banks and community banks. We automate all the data cleansing and other consuming manual tasks so experts can spend their time on credit risk modeling and apply their expertise. Risk Robot has 3 main phases. The data cleansing, it works directly with the raw data sources. The data is inside the bank, or if it is a community bank, it can be extracted outside the bank. We target to augment the technology with the current modeling teams in the bank, so they are going to be the users of the software. So we start by creating an ETL, and this is per portfolio of loans, and this means that we connect the ETL with the banking data directly inside the bank. This can work on premise or in any cloud. And then the modeling team has ready the data cleansing on the fly, and they can work on the model. The whole process takes minutes or hours instead of 6 to 12 months. And at the end, they have an automated regulatory documentation which is ready for submission to the auditors regulators like Fed, ECB, MAS in Singapore, or wherever is the bank and the headquarters. This is an example of an automated documentation which is written by the software completely automatically. It can be translated in any language. We have tested that even in Chinese and Japanese, and it works globally. We follow Basel III, IFRS 9, and CCL regulations. So we go in all the projects like model development, validation, stress testing, capital adequacy reporting, and special regulatory calculations like CCL for the US market. And we minimize the time that the team spends in order to develop, validate, and monitor these models. Continuing our presentation, we have validated the software with global tier 1 banks in 3 continents, in all the types of portfolios, and we have consistency in the speed. We are currently in London, and we're expanding globally. We're entering the US market, and we have done already a lot of actions where we have actually 2 significant partners. These are unicorn level companies that they have more than 2,500 banks as current clients, and we're going to work with them to install Risk Robot in many banks in the US market. Our team consists of very experienced modeling experts. They work in large banks globally. They have significant expertise, and they are considered as some of the best in the market. We have also a global board of advisors. The current chief risk officer of HSBC Singapore is in our board of advisors, and the ex-head of Oliver Wyman is also in our and senior advisor for us. We have a global partnership with Microsoft. We are a transactable offer in their marketplace, Azure Marketplace. This is a SaaS solution, unlimited support of languages, cloud or on-prem. We have a global network of partners, all the big system integrators and all the cloud providers, including the best of them. And we have validated the software with global tier one banks like HSBC, which is the latest project that we just delivered in 2 days instead of 1 year that their team was developing the same model. We are here to ask for consideration for an edge round that we're running currently, because we're entering the US market and would like to increase our current team for the delivery. Thank you very much.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Right as time went out, we'll have Mark and Steve come on.
Can you hear me?
Go ahead.
Yes, you guys are up. Absolutely. And Mark, it's your turn to go first.
My turn. Awesome. Yeah, so it's just, again, staying high level. This is a pretty abstracted problem, meaning I know you guys are experts in the credit risk modeling space, but again, like if the domain expertise on the pitch is medium to low, I think some of the bigger abstracted credit risk modeling problems with the regulatory framework around them is a lot. And one way to solve or simplify that is, again, kind of narrative driven. I have a hard time at this point understanding like how or what exists today, right? Like I see the vision, I see where you want to go. So it's kind of this, again, a narrative driven approach. Like, here's why we started this. Here's who's involved. Here are the 3 or 4 pain points we're hitting. Here are the testimonials, right? That feels like an $800,000 raise. The pitch I just heard feels like you're already crushing it. There's 7 channel partners. There's 5 clients. I'm like, wait a minute, are we at 5 million in revenue yet? Or are we trying to get $800,000 to build something that, I don't know, HSBC would license, for example. So yeah, I got kind of lost in terms of time and space, and that's a risk that if we burned up 10 minutes on that, if we met at a credit risk modeling conference, in London, I might just kind of like get distracted and go somewhere else. So that's just, in terms of the short duration format like this. Yeah, I'll stop there. Steve, go for it.
Yeah, it's these are interesting. These are really hard businesses this one in particular, I think, is a really hard business to pitch in a few minutes, right? So, give you a lot of grace on that, because it's just not a format that bodes well for global, credit risk automation. But a few of the things that I think could help a little bit in the context of the pitch is a little bit more on where you are in the product development process in the product, so that people can kind of put, especially for the first part of the raise, if it's that kind of 800 to 1 million part, kind of where are you in the development? I think, industries this big, there isn't a lot that needs to go into establishing, the marketplace. It's massive, and people spend tons of money in that space, and that's all usually relatively clear. So I'd like to hear a little bit more product, and I'd like to hear a little bit more unique advantage of this team. Execution is everything in this kind of a business, and it's both technical execution, which I'm sure you guys have the acumen for, but it's also, kind of operational and sales and marketing execution. One of the things that is very difficult putting early stage money into software companies on problems that are this big is I do believe that you guys are likely, you end up a feature in somebody else's bigger, kind of end-to-end platform. So the fact that you mentioned this channel partnership as your go-to-market and already having some of those channels established, within those channels having many clients, as an investor, again, just in the context of a brief pitch, I'd like to see a slide or 2 on that, because it's very hard for me to imagine funding this type of a business to go out and sell these things directly. But it makes perfect sense for me to imagine that you've got channel partners who have thousands of customers. They need this in their solution because it's a gap and they're going to take you to market. So just purely from the investor standpoint, hearing a little bit more about those channel relationships and the potential that they provide you in terms of access to the market, I think is something that could be expanded upon a little bit and give the investor a great deal of confidence in the go-to-market side of things. This is a tough one, guys, because, big problem, of course, huge opportunity, very, very difficult to do in a short period of time, but a little more product, a little bit more channel for me, and I get a lot more comfortable with the pitch.
Yeah, thank you very much.
That's good feedback. That's exactly right. Because if you're raising this round to support delivery, I'm just looking at the words. Like, what have we built? We're going to burn $800,000 to deliver what? And I'm not sure I can answer what yet. The other part of the equation here that's down the road, which you call out, is like scaling this market and actually selling in this market. Is that's probably the long pole in the tent, right? I mean, just my bias is the sales cycles here are going to be longer than you think, or maybe you're already sober on that fact and it's longer than I think, but. I really like where Steve's at. It's like, let's really drill down here. Like, what has been built? What are we spending money on to support delivery? What does that mean? So I think, and don't be afraid to get like super tight on that in a pitch like this. You don't have to set the table perfectly for people, but if you miss some of the execution points per Steve, you're just going to lose credibility early, and that's tough to gain back. I think in terms of building relationships with potential investors. So. Just piling onto that point with really good points, Steve. Yeah,
I think that's great follow-up, Mark. Great team. You want to see it. Great product. You want to see it. Route to market. You want to see it. If you get those things, I think you come about $800,000 pretty easily, honestly.
Yeah, thank you very much, both of you. I appreciate your feedback, because for us, we are not the experts on pitching for investors. We have focused on the business building. We self-funded the company and we're bootstrapping. The product is ready and is ready for all the markets. It's a framework that we can adjust per portfolio need, which we can do without coding. So actually we have quite advanced product already. And we have been approached by two big US companies. That's why I'm mentioning that here, that they are in the need of modeling and they understand that this cannot be solved by their teams. So actually the channel partners are there. This is on top of what we already built with the big system integrators and cloud providers that they are adding us in their pitches. Microsoft has selected us for just to see something specific because the time was limited. We are in their reports about the only solution suggested by Microsoft Teams globally for regulatory credit risk modeling in all the banks. This is since Christmas time, actually, which is very important for us because this gave big push. And also the channel partners, the implementation channel partners, they have all added us in their pitches, and we're working with them for digital transformation programs. So actually we're executing at the Series B level, if we count that, but we are self-funded. So actually we're approaching a bottleneck of the big clientele. And the reason to do a short round is because we want to have some deliverables before we go to the big one. And we can do that easily now because actually the clients are coming. We're not chasing them. And the latest project, which is with HSBC Bank, it's a big one. It's a regulatory model. And this, again, is a big opportunity because it can convert to global license. So these are just the additional information. I understand that we need improvement. But very happy that you shared your thoughts because that gives us some direction what to improve first. And thank you very much for your time.
I think you just showed the slides that we were looking for, or at least a lot of them that I would rather see in the pitch. I mean, not that the pitch was bad, but the credibility with Microsoft takes away the question of, can the product do what it needs to do? The channel relationships that you established are huge names, and now you can believe that you guys can go to market through that channel. The banks and the prototypes are great points that are milestones in a bootstrapped business. And then you can quickly go, okay, well, then I understand here that this money is for the team to be able to support the channel and selling these things through the channel because they're complex and long sales. that is, to me, is a much more succinct kind of, and so here's what we're going to do with the 800 grand. That makes perfect sense. I think those slides that you showed, I would love to see in here, and more the story that you started to tell in answering the question, along with what Mark said earlier about tying the team to the narrative, and that you guys are both credible and can execute. I think that a little bit of restructuring there, and you got something really nice.
Yeah, just to pile on, Penos, because I'm tracking and following what you're saying. A little bit of a twist on what Steve's saying, or maybe it's a little bit of a departure, is like the most important thing you showed me was time and cost down 70 and 90%. I think like that's easy for me to remember because it's simple, but it's also compelling. So I just felt like you guys could really pull on that first, and like, there's the value proposition right there, right? We're going to save people 90%, 70% time and money. And then just explain to me in a very crisp way how the product does that, why the product does that, what you guys have learned, and then you can transition into look at all the amazing validation we already have. Because that's the risk. When you go to like, we have partners, we have opportunities, we have banks, we have all this stuff. I can tell you almost every early stage software tech application and fintech banking finance that I've seen fails because they didn't bridge the value proposition and the product market fit with all the interest. You'll spend years with that industry, literally just you'll be educating people at your target clients for 6, 10, 12, 15, 18 months of the sales cycle before they say yes. That's my fear as an investor, is you get into the perpetual maybe with this end market and never sell because you're constantly kind of like trying to meet their need on value prop, which is an exploration. So that's what we want to really refine in on, is like your value proposition and the product you've built, like it clicks and the gear is going to get caught relatively quickly. So yeah, hope that made sense. That's kind of the flow I would think you'd have to hit here to increase the odds of a yes or a next meeting on the raise.
Thanks for that, Mark, and thanks, Steve. That's going to be time for this presentation. Of course.